Welcome to this explainer. Today we are diving into a really fascinating mystery, the hidden geographic biases that secretly dictate your everyday shopping habits. We all like to think we have total free will in the supermarket aisle, right? But as we're going to see, the seemingly simple choices you make might actually be the result of a geographic and historic lottery.
Let's start with part 1, the geography of brands and those quirky local supermarket biases.
So, have you ever wondered why a supermarket in San Francisco stocks vastly different local favorites than one in, say, Chicago, even for the exact same types of products? If you travel a lot and you happen to stroll down the condiment aisle or the coffee aisle in different American cities, you'll notice the top-selling brands shift dramatically. It's kind of wild just how stark these regional differences are when it comes to everyday packaged goods.
Here is the craziest part about all of this. Your consumer choices, they are heavily influenced by which company got to your city first, sometimes well over a century ago. It's not just about flashy modern marketing or shifting taste preferences. Actually, scratch that. It has almost nothing to do with modern marketing. It is deeply, deeply rooted in history.
Moving on to Section 2, the City of Origin Effect, and a really cool data-driven discovery. So, researchers actually decided to put this to the test. There's this landmark study published in the Journal of Political Economy that finally measured exactly how long an early entry advantage lasts. They basically wanted to know, does being the first to sell a product in a specific town create a long-term economic moat that competitors just can't cross? To figure this out, they didn't just look at a couple of brands. They meticulously analyzed market share data across 34 distinct consumer packaged goods industries in the 50 largest U.S. cities. We're talking about everything from bread and butter to ketchup and mayonnaise, the whole shebang. They traced the origins of the top brands in all 34 industries, looking at exactly where and when they launched. And get this, some of these dated all the way back to the late 1800s. And what they found is absolutely wild. Brands enjoy a massive 12-point market share advantage near their historic city of origin, but they actually suffer a 5-point penalty in the cities furthest away. To put that into perspective, the national average market share is about 22%, so a 12-point bump in your hometown, that is an absolutely huge advantage. It proves that a brand's market share is systematically higher in places they got to early versus places they got to late.
Let's look at a real-world example. In Section 3, the Folgers Coffee Empire, a true 19th century giant.
To really see how this deeply entrenched loyalty works, we're going to time travel back to the 1850s. Picture this, a 14-year-old kid from Nantucket named James Folger arrives in San Francisco right in the middle of the gold rush. He goes to work for a local steam coffee and spice mill, a company that was basically introducing pre-packaged ground coffee to miners who were used to hauling around whole beans. By 1865, young James becomes a full partner. By 1872, he buys out the other owners entirely and slaps his own name on the tin. This early move established incredible dominance in the Bay Area, dominance that lasted so long his family retained control all the way until 1963 when Procter & Gamble finally bought them out. And this hometown connection was fierce. During the infamous 1906 San Francisco earthquake, James Folger II actually saved the factory by pumping salt water directly from the bay to put out the encroaching flames. No way, right? By keeping that factory standing, the brand cemented its hometown roots and kept a totally unbreakable grip on the local market.
Which brings us to Section 4, the Pioneer Advantage, and how brands lock in that local loyalty.
Economists actually have a formal term for this. It's called the Early Entry Advantage, or the Pioneer Advantage. It basically proves that being the absolute first to package and sell a reliable product in a local region locks in a kind of generational loyalty that is incredibly hard to break. You have to remember, back in the 19th century, there was no such thing as a coordinated nationwide rollout on TV or social media. Brands expanded organically, city by city, region by region. So wherever they planted their flag first is where consumers learned to trust them first. And as you can see, this pioneer advantage isn't just a coffee thing. It dictates the market leaders across all kinds of categories. Take Budweiser, launched in St. Louis in 1876, or Kraft Chunk Cheese, which started in Chicago in 1903. Over a century later, the order of entry is still a fantastic predictor of who holds the most market share in those specific cities today. If a brand got there first, generations of locals just inherently perceive it as the higher quality option. So, Section 5. Competing with history. How do you beat a 150-year-old giant?
Well, if you're a modern brand, you can't exactly go head-to-head with a historic giant in their hometown based on size alone. Mid-century Bay Area innovators survived by completely changing the rules of the game. Take Alfred Peet, for example. He was a Dutchman who arrived in the 50s, looked at the poor quality beans everyone was importing, and opened his Berkeley shop in 1966 to focus purely on high-quality roasting. Then you've got Carlo Di Rucco, an elevator technician from Italy. He noticed local espresso machines were terribly maintained, so he started repairing them and roasting his own beans, founding Mr. Espresso in Oakland in 1981. They couldn't beat the pioneer on scale, so they decided to compete entirely on craft.
And that mindset is exactly what sparked the third wave of coffee, ushered in by modern Bay Area brands like Blue Bottle. They totally bypassed that pioneer advantage by turning coffee into a transparent, artisanal experience. Honestly, more like fine wine or craft cocktails. Instead of fighting Folgers for the mass market of uniform pre-packaged roasts, they introduced origin tracking, small batches, and careful pour-overs. It just goes to show, to beat a pioneer with a 100-year head start, you basically have to invent a whole new category. So here's a thought to leave you with. The next time you're wandering down the grocery aisle and you reach for your favorite brand, I really want you to ask yourself, is this genuinely your preference, or was this choice secretly made for you by some ambitious entrepreneur over a century ago? Are you buying it because it's truly the best, or simply because it was the first? It is pretty amazing to think about just how much hidden history is packed into a single grocery cart. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I hope it completely changes the way you look at the shelves on your next shopping trip.